Boring Company is making news again in 2023. We've got some very positive updates and a little bit of controversy to go along with it, no surprise there. The Boring Company is pushing hard on their journey towards a mass transportation service with a huge expansion of their Las Vegas tunnel network that will put their business model to the ultimate test, while at the same time the company is developing cutting-edge new technology at their remote Texas facility. They're also doing a fantastic job at pissing off their new neighbors, and we'll talk about that as well. This is looking like a make-or-break year for Elon Musk's most boring of companies. In the most ambitious plan we've seen from the Boring Company in some time, they have a new application that has been officially submitted to expand the scale of their Las Vegas Loop Tunnel system. This is the underground car service that has started operation at the Las Vegas Convention Center and surrounding hotels. The loop was previously approved by city officials to expand south down the Vegas Strip and link up with several hotels and casinos along the way. Now, according to an updated proposal just released to the public, the Boring Company is looking to double the size of that underground network, expanding much further to the south and covering a much wider area of the city's downtown core. The length of the tunnel for the new loop would expand to 65 miles, with the total number of stations reaching, wait for it, drum roll, you guessed it, 69. And I'd love to think that's a coincidence, but this is coming from the same man who lit the world's largest rocket on 420, and we all just watched it go up in a massive puff of smoke. So, anyway, the proposed 65-mile network of tunnels would run through the Las Vegas Strip and central Las Vegas. Looking at a new map of the proposed Vegas Loop expansion reveals that the massive tunnel network would run from the southmost point at the intersection of Blue Diamond Road and Las Vegas Boulevard. That seems to be the last major intersection on the way out of the city towards Los Angeles. And the northernmost point will reach the Fremont Street Experience Pedestrian Mall, which is the same as the original plan. The most significant difference here obviously being the massive increase in the density of tunnels and stations around the city center. It looks like every hotel and casino on the Strip is getting their own loop station now, along with several stops at the University of Nevada and even a tunnel out to Harry Reid International Airport. Not only does this new map reach further south towards the suburban areas of Las Vegas, it also includes multiple stops in the Medical District and University District, so it would appear that the scope of the Boring Company's ambitions have expanded from servicing purely the tourist downtown crowd to building a legitimate public transport system that could really be useful to the people that actually live in Las Vegas. That would be a pretty major step up for the Boring Company. Their service is generally still looked down on as a novelty, but with this new proposal, their loop system would be on par with the scale of established subway systems in comparably sized cities. This is also opening up the Boring Company to a significant amount of risk. Remember that they are self-financing all of the tunnel boring work. They're not being paid by Las Vegas to dig these tunnels. The hotels and attractions do have to fund the construction of their own loop stations, but all of the tunnel digging and servicing is an out-of-pocket expense for the Boring Company. Their only hope for profitability at any point in the future is to get this system up and running and collect the fees paid by loop riders. It's also worth noting that even though the existing convention center loop is running smoothly, or as well as expected, that system is still relying on Tesla SUVs driven manually by human beings. That's fine on this smaller scale, but if the Boring Company is actually going to pull off everything that they are proposing in this new map, then they need an upgrade to their vehicles, not only with full self-driving autonomy, but also much larger dedicated mass transport vehicles that are easy for people to hop on and off. Hopefully Tesla can pull through with some kind of an autonomous robo-van. Meanwhile, over in Texas, the Boring Company is hard at work on new equipment and tunnel systems at their Bastrop testing facility. We know that they have a couple of large projects on the go there. One is the development and manufacturing of their Proof-Rock tunnel boring machine. Proof-Rock version 2 is in use at the site currently, and a prototype Proof-Rock 3 has been spotted there as well. Proof-Rock 2 has so far completed its second tunnel project at Bastrop, each one about 500 feet long, and going underneath the highway to emerge at a second Elon Musk-owned facility across the road. This is a warehouse owned by SpaceX that is apparently going to be used for something involving Starlink satellites, but we don't know much about it other than that it is much nicer looking than any of the buildings on the Boring Company side of the highway. The tunneling process here has been very well documented by the Boring Company's favorite next-door neighbor, Chap Ambrose. So, full credit to him for any aerial imagery you're seeing. Check out his website, keepbastropboring.com. Chap reports that the second tunnel was dug by the Prufrock 2 machine in just 33 days, over 4 times faster than the first tunnel. So obviously, they are making fast progress here. Chap's drone video from March 24th shows Prufrock coming out the other end of tunnel number 2 and being loaded onto a skid. You can also see all of the stuff that follows behind the cutting head, which is pretty fascinating. Looking at the view back on the other side where the tunnel started, you can see the conveyor belt that moves all of the dirt out, which is technically referred to as spoil. You'll also notice a lot of water. They seem to have a big problem with flooding around this site. It's like Woodstock 99 out there. Assuming that Prufrock version 3 is up next, it's going to be very interesting how much faster they can go with their third tunnel. The whole point of these machines is to increase the speed of tunneling with the goal for Prufrock to reach 7 miles per day. If the current speed is 500 feet in 33 days, there are about 5,000 feet in a mile, so that would be just over 300 days to dig a 1-mile tunnel. Call it 1 mile per year, so they still have a very long way to go. Tunnel number 1 has already been converted by the Boring Company into their first full-scale Hyperloop test track. Now, we're not exactly sure what that means. The idea for a Hyperloop is to run a subsonic bullet train through a vacuum tube, and so far we've only seen Tesla vehicles in the tunnel, but it's possible that they are testing some kind of a vacuum-based low-pressure system down there. We saw a big fancy sliding door added to the Boring Company side of the tunnel back in November, and the new drone video shows that the SpaceX side now has its own sliding door. This one is white, and it actually has a little Hyperloop logo on it. According to Chap, work in the tunnels has now ramped up to 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. He spotted a 270-gallon tank of whiskey being delivered to the Boring Company site. It's possible that the two things might be related. Unfortunately, the biggest issue for the Boring Company in Bastrop isn't whiskey, it's water. The company is refusing to back down from their plan to dump 142,000 gallons of treated wastewater per day into the nearby Colorado River, and that is something that the local residents have not taken kindly to. They are worried not just about pollution in the river itself, but also the effect on local groundwater, which they rely on for drinking and watering crops on local farms. Specifically, the Boring Company wants to build its own wastewater treatment facility for the restrooms, break rooms, and on-site bistro at the company town Elon Musk is building in Bastrop. We'll get to that in a minute. Company officials say that 97% of the wastewater would come from residential use, although the Boring Company did apply for a hybrid permit that includes industrial discharge. So in theory, we are talking about mainly sewage here, not industrial toxic waste, and it is perfectly normal to flow treated wastewater back into a river. The city of Bastrop itself discharges around 5 million gallons per day into the river. A single wastewater treatment facility in Austin, 30 miles upstream of Bastrop, is authorized to discharge some 75 million gallons per day. The concern here is obviously that the Boring Company would not maintain the same standards of a city-run facility. Move fast and break stuff is a cool philosophy for developing new technology, but not so much for disposing of sewage. And like we said, a lot of that wastewater is going to come from a new housing development that the Boring Company is building near their test site. In March this year, the Wall Street Journal reported that Elon Musk was building his own techno-utopian city named Snailbrook, which makes for a great headline, but that's not necessarily true. You can't just found a whole new city on a whim. There is a massive process that needs to be gone through, and there is no indication from any local authorities that Elon Musk has even taken the first step towards incorporating his own town. What the Boring Company definitely is building is a housing subdivision on their property, essentially just a workforce housing for employees. This facility is a good distance away from Austin, it's pretty remote, and with work on the tunnel projects going around the clock, it would actually make sense for the workers to have their own rental homes close to the site. It's not something very common in Texas, but you would find similar arrangements in western oil fields. According to the most recent reports, there will be 110 homes built in the new Boring Company subdivision. Our biggest takeaway from all of this would be that the Boring Company clearly has big plans for the future in Bastrop, and that means a lot of work is still to come in the development and testing of both the tunnel boring machine and the Hyperloop transit system. So we expect a lot more developments to come. Stay tuned. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up today if you liked it. That is so important for getting our content out to more people. If you enjoy the content, then you'd probably also enjoy our weekly newsletter. So sign up with the link down below at theteslaspace.com. A huge thank you to all of our Patreon supporters who are listed on the screen now. You help us make the best content we can, and we really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.